Capitol Report is a production of Senate Media Services.
Mining for minerals dates back more than a century on Minnesota's Iron Range. This week, key lawmakers representing northern Minnesota offer their perspectives on proposals that could impact the future of mining. Stay tuned for this and more on this week's Capitol Report. Welcome to this week's program. I'm Shannon Lurkey. There is a tension between those who seek to protect Minnesota's boundary waters and those who seek to utilize the state's mineral resources to create jobs and economic development. Senator Jen McEwen is the chief author of legislation called Prove It First, which would require that certain standards be met before copper sulfide mining permits can be issued. Senator McEwen joins me now. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you very much for having me.
Let's start with a little history. This legislation is modeled on a Wisconsin law that was in place from 1998 until 2017. What aspects of that law are appealing?
I think that the aspects that are appealing about that law is just how well it works. What that law required and what this piece of legislation would require is that any copper nickel mining proposal, before it would be considered for permitting in Minnesota, would have to demonstrate an example of a similar mine that had operated in the United States for 10 years and then had been closed for 10 years without negative environmental destruction accompanying that mining operation. And as a result, unfortunately, the industry is just not there yet. It hasn't arrived at that place. And so we never actually saw during the period of that law in Wisconsin, it was extremely effective. And unfortunately, they no longer have that piece of legislation. I think that is also telling.
So in essence, if this bill were to become law, it would be a 20-year moratorium on a project like this because it would have to open, be active for 10 years, then close for 10 years, and then show no environmental damage. Is that right?
Well, potentially, that is potentially correct, unless there are some claims of a mining operation. I'm not aware of any right now, but admittedly, I'm not aware of every copper mine that's in existence right now. So it is possible if industry promoters are doing what they say that they can do, which is to operate these mines safely in a way that doesn't damage the environment. Presumably, maybe they're already doing that in existing mines, and maybe they would have examples sooner than 20 years. But we'd have to see.
Okay. Well, so the Iron Range has a rich mining history and tradition.
Yes.
How is copper sulfide mining? Because this is specific to this type of mining. How is it different from the iron ore and taconite mining that have made the Iron Range what we know it to be?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. And as you say, up on the Iron Range, there is a long, rich history, and it extends into today of iron mining and now today of taconite mining, and a rich cultural heritage around that type of mining up north. This type of mining, this non-ferrous mining, copper nickel mining, is different. It is scientifically, the process that results from this type of mining is much more dangerous. And I'm not a scientist. I can't go into a lot of details without having a more detailed briefing, but my understanding is that the reason for this extra piece of environmental threat and damage comes through the release of sulfuric acid from this type of mining, the level of sulfuric acid that we would be looking at, which is particularly dangerous in a water-rich environment like we have in Minnesota, and especially in northern Minnesota, where we have the confluence of three watersheds. We have the Rainy River watershed, which drains up into Hudson Bay. We have the Mississippi watershed, which is, of course, the headwaters of the Great Mississippi River of North America. And then we also have the Lake Superior watershed, and those waters going into the St. Lawrence Seaway and out to the ocean. So we're in the center of the continent here at the confluence, the beginning of the waters of North America. And because of just how water rich the environment here is. We have all of our swamps and bogs, and up in the Boundary Waters, people know who've been up there, just it's water. It's pretty much water in northern Minnesota, connected by small pieces of land. And so when we're talking about doing this new type of mining that has not been done in Minnesota before and has never been done safely anywhere, to my knowledge, in the world without severely damaging the water in particular, that is a risk that under the current scientific abilities to do this type of mining, we just should not be willing to take at this point.
Is this legislation limited to the Boundary Waters watershed, or would it encompass the entire state?
It would encompass the entire state. And I think that's really important. There's other excellent efforts underway to protect the Boundary Waters wilderness, which I am also a big supporter of. And I think, all of us believe that the Boundary Waters is very much a sacred space in Minnesota, and we treasure it and we want to do everything that we can to protect it. But all of the waters in Minnesota are treasured waters. We are the keepers of this water right now. During the course of our lives, we are charged with making sure that we protect all of our waters. We depend on them for our health, for our lives, for our economy, for our well-being. And future generations are depending on us to safeguard not just the Boundary Waters for our preservation and for our recreation going up there, but the water that we put into our bodies every day, the water that our children drink, the water that we swim in, the water that we fish in. So this Prove It First legislation applies to all of the watersheds in Minnesota. So it includes the Mississippi watershed, it includes Lake Superior. And that is one of the strengths of this legislation in particular that we're really proud of, because we believe so strongly that all of our waters in Minnesota are deserving of that kind of protection.
Current state law provides for the, quote, diversification of the state's mineral economy through long-term support of mineral exploration, evaluation, environmental research, development, production, and commercialization, end quote. The Prove It First proposal would add the following clause: consistent with the state policy to protect clean air, clean water, and other natural resources of the state. Is that an achievable balance?
Yes, I do think that it is an achievable balance. And I do think that it's something that we have avoided for some time addressing, which is that conflict that can arise between economic development ideas, various ideas and proposals that come forward for our state for different economic development, and preserving and protecting the abundance of natural resources that we have in the state. They don't always come into conflict, but sometimes those two interests can come into conflict. And too often, when we're looking at proposals like this, those proposals are often brought forward by very powerful economic interests that stand to gain a lot of money if those projects are actually undertaken and fulfilled. And too often, the costs of those projects are shifted off and put upon the people of this state. And unfortunately, that it has resulted in a balance that hasn't been achieved, where there has oftentimes been a preference for economic exploitation, a sort of doctrine of conquest, if you would, over land and water, which is a sort of an old school way in the United States of looking at sort of a manifest destiny approach to the land, to the water, to what we do as a society. And we live in a different society today for good reason. We know that our resources are finite, and we do have to protect them. We cannot let corporate interests run wild and run roughshod over our environment, over our people, our workers, our health. We do have to draw those lines. And as we move forward as a state, I think it will be more and more important for us, especially in light of global warming and water challenges overall in our state that we're looking at, from agriculture and to other sorts of industry as well in the state, that we are making it very clear that the priority in our state must be the public health of our people and the overall long-term, long-game look at our economy to a truly sustainable economy, not giving out to the lowest bidder in an attempt for a short-term gain of some jobs, but a real, truly long-term vision for sustainability and for a thriving economy and state.
Senator Jen McEwen, it is always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
New laws effective January 1st aimed at protecting the rights of tenants were highlighted by Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan and key lawmakers at a recent press conference.
Today, we're making sure every Minnesotan has a safe and stable place to call home and an opportunity to grow and thrive in their community. We know that housing stability is a catalyst to educational, career, and personal growth, health, and overall well-being. And stability is predictability. Renters should feel confident in predicting their monthly expenses, their ability to maintain their space, and that the heat and water will turn on each day. And that's what these new laws are all about, like fee disclosure, heating requirements, and a 14-day notice prior to non-payment evictions that are designed to ensure that people can feel confident and safe in their homes.
And this last session, the DFL as a whole really took the largest step towards leveling the playing field between landlords and renters in state history, and I'm so proud to be a part of that. Our groundbreaking legislation to enhance tenants' rights went into effect at the beginning of this year, and really it's about stable housing. We know that leads to better health, educational, professional outcomes for families across our state, and every Minnesotan deserves stable housing. For me, so much of this legislation that I carried this session, especially the tenants' rights legislation, is really a racial justice issue. Evictions in particular disproportionately impact Black women and impact Black mothers in our state. And it's one of the reasons why I was so proud to carry this as one of the first Black women to serve in the Minnesota Senate.
So today we mark a significant milestone in ensuring safe, secure, and dignified housing for all Minnesota residents. These new housing laws are not merely extra regulations, but they represent a deliberate step towards more balanced and collaborative partnership in securing housing for more Minnesotan families.
The Minnesota Minerals Coordinating Committee was created by the legislature in 1987, and its website touts the state's century-long tradition of mining, its workforce, its mineral resources, and its geological databases. Senator Robert Farnsworth has introduced a bill that would attempt to streamline the review and permitting process for metallic mineral mining projects. And he joins me now. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So this is your first appearance on Capitol Report since you were elected to the Senate in 2021, your first interview, that is. Your campaign website refers to, quote, fighting for Northland families and fighting for our way of life. Is that, in part at least, a reference to mining?
Yeah, it would be a huge reference to mining. I'm probably biased. I grew up in the home of a 33-year miner. And my dad, he grew up in foster care in Maine. And when he got out of the Air Force, if he hadn't got a job at the mines, I don't know where he would have been. And so I'm biased because we had a good middle class upbringing without a college degree. And it's the number one employer. It brings in the most taxes. And it's not just for the Iron Range. I mean, they're the biggest contributor to the school trust fund, which benefits all schools. But yeah, it definitely, mining is a huge part of our way of life up here.
To the casual observer, it seems that there's an ongoing battle over mining issues with frequent headlines about various mining projects and whether permits have been issued or denied and by which various state or federal agencies, and then subsequently lawsuits filed. Is that an accurate observation?
Yeah, it seems like there's always a fight going on. I mean, you have, on one hand, you have the DNR, and they are, they're just putting their nose to the grindstone and they're working and they're looking at the permits and they're looking at the science, and they're sort of outside of the fray. And then of course you have the politicians like myself that are fighting battles in the press, like, hey, we've got to get these things done. We need the jobs, we need the tax base. And so you take something like the New Range, which used to be called Polymet, and they had all their permits a few years ago, and we were excited. We thought they're going to be ready to go. And then the courts got involved, and they pulled some of them, or they suspended some of the permits. And I'm confident that they're going to get those permits back. But I think that that's one of the reasons that I support permit reform. But also, to go along with that, we need tort reform. We have to quit with all of these frivolous lawsuits. Once a company has gone through the process, and it should be a transparent process, once they've gone through the process and shown that they're able to do something successfully, then they should be able to move forward.
So speaking of permitting reform, you are the chief author of a bill that has bipartisan support that would require the Department of Natural Resources to create an online dashboard to track environmental review and permitting at both the state and federal level. So why would this dashboard be helpful?
Well, first I want to say that I can't take total credit for this. This was a bill that Senator Thomasoni had drafted in the last session, and so we redrafted the bill because it's a good idea. Think about it like when you order a pizza at Domino's. Every time I order a pizza at Domino's, you can look at the dashboard and it says your pizza's been ordered, your pizza's in the oven, your pizza's on its way. Why can't we have something like that with permitting, and not just with minerals, but with everything, so that we have some transparency in the system? And again, if these companies are able to meet the rigorous standards that we have in Minnesota, we'll see that on that dashboard. And if they're not able to meet it, then they're going to stop at that part of the permitting until they're able to meet it. So I think what it does is, well, it does two things. It puts transparency back into the system, and it also opens the door to permitting reform that I know members of the majority are interested in working on. The governor has expressed interest in working on permitting reform, so it opens the door to that as well.
Now, you mentioned the project that's now called New Range Copper Nickel. Before it was known as Polymet, and that has been an ongoing saga of permits denied and on hold and lawsuits. So if there were a dashboard, would that just provide clarity and, as you say, lead potentially to permit reform? Are there other benefits to having kind of a one-stop shop for a history of that particular project?
Well, I think not just for that particular project, but for all the projects, so that the general public will know where these projects are. I mean, I can't tell you how many times people ask me, hey, is Polymet going to go? I have so-and-so that lives in Aurora or in Hoyt Lakes, and I would be able to, rather than say, well, I think it's here, or I think it's there, I could say, hey, look at the dashboard, so that the public will know exactly where it is. And this would allow voters to be able to make more informed decisions. And I think as part of the dashboard, it shouldn't just be like, so they get their air permit, but I think it should, maybe even have a link with the actual permit, so people can say, okay, so this is what the air quality standard is. Rather than just saying, well, this is where they are in the process, but having links to include more of that information so that voters are well informed.
Senator Jen McEwen is the sponsor of a bill called Prove It First. The legislation would require peer-reviewed scientific proof that a mine like the one, New Range Copper, that we're talking about, has operated in the U.S. or Canada for 10 years and been closed for 10 years without polluting the environment. What is your perspective on this measure?
As you can probably guess, I certainly don't support it. I can't think of a much more, in regards to business, I can't think of a much more un-American idea. I mean, imagine if the government had told the Wright brothers, you can't test your airplanes for 10 years until we know that other countries have been flying airplanes safely for 10 years. Or if the government, had told NASA, you can't try and get to the moon until other countries have done it for 10 years. I mean, where would we be? We certainly wouldn't have the technology. We wouldn't have the industrial advantage that we have. And it's the same way with mining. I believe we can do it. We can do it cleanly. We talked about New Range. They had their permits. They demonstrated they could do it cleanly. There's other mines that have demonstrated they can do it cleanly. The Flambeau mine in Wisconsin, I don't think it's been closed for 10 years. It was open for like 12 to 14 years. And it's clean. There's very minimal impact on the environment. The Eagle mine in Michigan is another one. It's still running. Of course, we'd have to wait for that to be closed for 10 years based on this. Up in Canada, there's the new gold mine, which is a silver and gold mine that took about 5 years from permitting to construction, which is about a fourth of what, where we're at with Polymet, and we don't even have a shovel in the ground. So I think that prove it first legislation, I guess for lack of I can't think of a better word, it's ridiculous, to say somebody has to prove that they can do it for 10 years. We're Americans, we try hard things. And if the challenge is how can we get these non-ferrous minerals out of the ground cleanly, well, let's address the challenge rather than say, well, we're going to wait and let somebody else do it first.
And finally, before we go, you are also chief sponsor of a bill that would add the statement, quote, Minnesota is a mining-friendly state, to the state's policy for mineral development. What impact do you believe that this statement would have if it were in law?
The impact is mostly symbolic, although I think, what it would do, that's included in a statute that talks about mining and the importance of using our mineral resources. I think it reframes the discussion more from a positive perspective, like, hey, we support mining, we're mining friendly, how can we do this, how can we do it well? It wouldn't have any actual, that line wouldn't force the DNR to allow all mining projects, but it just reframes the discussion. But again, it's much more symbolic that yes, we support mining. Mining is a good thing. It's what's going to bring about the green revolution. It's what's going to provide the nickel and all of the minerals that we need for electric cars. And we have it here. Why? We know that they have slave labor in China and in the Congo, and they've found children as young as 4 working in the nickel mines in the Congo. Why wouldn't we try and get it cleanly here rather than relying on countries that use child slave labor?
Senator Robert Farnsworth, I want to thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan was joined by key lawmakers and others in celebrating a new law that prohibits employers from asking about or considering a job applicant's past or current pay during the hiring process.
Because in Minnesota, white women make 81 cents on the dollar. Asian women make 70 cents on the dollar. Black women make 61 cents on the dollar. Indigenous women make 61 cents on the dollar, and Latina women make 55 cents on the dollar compared to their white male counterparts. This is unacceptable, and it's real money. I have not been spared from this discrimination. One of the jobs that I applied for, my employer, my potential employer, asked me what I made at my current job. And I was uncomfortable answering, but I felt as though I had to in order to secure this position. What ended up happening is that I got the position and later on found out that I actually made $40,000 less than the person who was in that position before me. When women, especially women of color, get unfairly paid less than their white male counterparts, discrimination, sexism, and racism are perpetuated in other areas of life.
Even though the wage gap remains persistent and pervasive, I just don't believe that most employers, most businesses actively want to pay women less than men. I just don't think that's true. Yet, when you look at the data over and over again, this is what is happening. So this is intended to be a proactive systems fix to help remedy that problem, to align intention with impact here. Who does it apply to? It applies to all employers, public, private, nonprofit, all sizes, all employers in Minnesota. It applies to all job applicants, anyone applying for a job. This includes current employees seeking a promotion or a transfer within their same company. It also applies to full and part-time employees, seasonal employees, temp employees, all employees. So 2 things an employer cannot do. They cannot ask, encourage, or prompt an applicant about their current or past pay. Ask, encourage, or prompt, cannot. and they cannot consider an applicant's current or past pay when setting a rate.
The wage gap between men and women has barely budged in over a decade. This law is one step that takes us closer to narrowing this gap that we know affects single women, Black and Indigenous people, and women of color the most.
We close this week's program with an invitation to visit the Minnesota State Capitol. The Minnesota State Capitol is an architectural gem. Designed by American architect Cass Gilbert, the Beaux-Arts-inspired masterpiece overlooks St. Paul and the sweeping Mississippi River Valley. Free public tours showcasing the Capitol's history, stunning artistry, and incredible architectural features are offered by the Minnesota Historical Society. Within the chambers of the Senate and the House, stonework, murals, and intricate detail inspire lawmakers to reflect on the state's history as they debate legislative proposals that could impact the lives of Minnesotans. The historic Supreme Court chamber, with its artwork depicting the history of law, reminds the justices and all who enter that where law ends, tyranny begins. Adorning the walls of the governor's ornate reception room, historical paintings of Minnesota's role in the American Civil War, a conflict fresh in the minds of Minnesotans when the Capitol opened in 1905, are on display. During favorable weather, tours include a trip to the roof of the Capitol for a close-up view of the quadriga, also called the Progress of the State. Cast in the style of classical antiquity, the four-horse chariot, charioteer, and women representing industry and agriculture signify a golden and plentiful future for Minnesota. Visitors can take a break or grab breakfast or lunch in the historic Rathskeller, a basement cafe decorated with German motifs and mottos honoring the state's German immigrant heritage. The Rathskeller is open during legislative sessions. A multi-year renovation of the Capitol building was completed in 2017, restoring the art, furniture, and overall vision of architect Cass Gilbert while upgrading the building for modern technology and accessibility. Free guided tours are available Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Tours leave at the top of the hour and are 45 minutes long. Groups of 15 or more are asked to make a reservation. For a fee, theme tours covering art, the American Civil War, and the builders of the Capitol building are also available. For more information, visit the Minnesota Historical Society website or scan the QR code and enjoy your visit at the Minnesota State Capitol. Join us again next week as we delve into more topics affecting Minnesotans. I'm Shannon Lurkey, and on behalf of all of us at Senate Media Services, thanks for watching.